temperatures are warming up, the grass is starting to look like it might want to turn green. So this is a great time to consider several steps in getting that lawn ready for the growing season that's coming ahead. First thing you want to do is remove any debris. Maybe the children played a little bit of snow games on the grass, and there might be some sleds and some other bits and pieces out there. There may be leaves left over from the previous year that have matted down and need to be removed. So first and foremost, you need to remove that material before you do anything on that new lawn, and long before the lawn is actually turned green. As the lawn starts to green up, you can start checking for snow mold and maybe winter kill, depending upon what kind of winter we've had. And if the snow mold is really bad, there's nothing you can do about it, but you might want to rake it up, as well as for those winter kill areas. And think about overseeding. Overseeding can be done in the spring. It's not the optimal time. So if the damage isn't really prevalent, then don't consider overseeding and let the grasses fill in on their own. One of the first things I would like to see a homeowner do for their lawn is an irrigation audit, if you have an in-ground irrigation system. This is where you start the system in the middle of the day. It might be a little cool, so you might want to avoid it if the ground's frozen or if the risk of frost is high, but still, nonetheless, you could get a 50-degree day, 45-degree day, even in late April. Run the irrigation system, make sure all the heads are coming up out of the ground properly, they're making the rotation that they should, there aren't any leaks or other things that are obviously going on. And this will make sure that your system is ready, not for that spring irrigation, because spring irrigation is rarely needed under Nebraska conditions, perhaps for that summer when we do sometimes need irrigation, depending upon the level of management and quality we want in the lawn. Spring is also one of the 2 times you can aerate or plug. You can rent an aerator or you can contract it out, but nonetheless, this is a good time to plug holes in the ground. If you have a bluegrass lawn, this helps control thatch. If you have a fescue lawn, this helps control compaction. So it's recommended that you do aerate at least once a year, and spring is a good time to do it. Mowing. Some people like to go really short right at the beginning of the season to kind of clean up the lawn and stuff, and this is not recommended. We want you to set your mower at the height you're going to mow all season long. Historically, we used to say, well, mow it short in the spring and the fall and higher in the summer. We've quit doing that because we now know, based on research, that lawn is actually going to stress when you raise and lower the mowing height. Just set the height at the highest height you want to go with your lawn. For example, a Kentucky bluegrass or a fescue lawn perform quite well at between 3 and 3.5 inches. If you're not sure how to measure that, put your mower on a concrete surface, use a ruler and measure up to the base of the blade. That'll be the mowing height when it's rolling across the grass. It may not be the mowing height technically on the lawn itself because it does compress a little bit, but nonetheless, that'll give you an idea. And we like to see those on the higher end of the mowing height routine. Then now we're looking at spring, we're looking at soil temperatures getting higher. We need to start worrying about weed control. We don't recommend spring weed control for broadleaf weeds like dandelions for a couple of reasons. One, control isn't very good, and the other thing is that dandelions, by their very nature, are good forage for pollinators, especially bees, and that flower and the pollen that it produces is great for that as well. So not really a great time to control anyway because you don't get good control, so consider that. But what you should consider is the application of your pre-emergent herbicide. Some people like to do it on a calendar day. They say tax day, April 15th. We know that in eastern Nebraska, central and eastern Nebraska for that matter, that the optimal timing is actually about the first week in May, and rarely do we see a need for the pre-emergent to go on prior to that. So if you do it at that time, you are going to get optimal control season long without having to worry about some supplemental applications to control some of the crabgrass that escapes. So you can do soil temperatures, or you can use the date. Soil temperatures need to be 2 to 3 days consecutively at 55 degrees. So you can use a little thermometer of some kind, stick it into the ground, or go to various websites and get your soil temperature. Fertility, spring is a good time to fertilize, not the optimal time, but it is a good time to fertilize. And usually your pre-emergent herbicide is formulated on a fertilizer granule, so you get all the fertility you need if you follow the labeled directions. You might want to consider if you have some henbit, some chickweed, maybe some other downy brome. You may have some weeds in there that are winter annuals, and you can certainly control them in early spring, and they will be susceptible to most of the labeled herbicides. But for the most part, they're going to die when the heat starts to generate later in the year and the days get longer. So that's a consideration we want. But now you're set. You're ready to go, ready to start hitting that lawn, and recreating is to your heart's content.